Good evening, guys. Allow me to set up the screen. Thanks for participating, attending this event. Welcome to the event. So now it is set. Today we are going to see an important aspect for supply chain professional. Though you may or may not be directly involved, you should know that demand forecasting is going to affect each and every process within the supply chain, especially in terms of inventory management. It could affect to a very large extent unless you have a tab on what is happening in the demand forecast. Possibly in your organization, this particular function is done by a different department or function. Possibly sales or marketing is going to do this, but ultimately the greater effect will be on inventory management in terms of material availability as well as shortages. So we will see some of the aspects, how what is demand forecasting, what are the types available, and we have now currently machine learning methods which can assist forecasting. In what level or extent they can support the forecasting, and how do we provide some type of a barricade so that our inventory is protected from forecasting error. In fact, that has to be examined. You can, before we start the program, I would like to introduce myself briefly, though most of you are connected with my LinkedIn profile. A brief introduction: this is my LinkedIn profile. You are welcome to either connect or follow my in the LinkedIn as well as other social media channel. As far as my profile is concerned, I am basic engineer with management degree and PG diploma in data science. I have nearly 2.5 decades working experience in this type of domain, and I have handled each and every subdomain within the supply chain. And last assignment, in fact, my last 10 years of my career, I was heading the supply chain for these organizations. Last 5 years, I have been heading this current organization known as Thoughtware Training Private Limited with the brand name of Exxpert SCM. As far as certification is concerned, if you are in the supply chain field, you should be aware of this. Specifically, if you are in the job market, these are very important for you. The certifications are from ASCM, Association for Supply Chain Management, and also there is an institute called Demand Driven Institute who also provide similar certification, similar to OPIC's certification, like Demand Driven Planner Professional. I am also a certified purchasing manager and project management professional. So, if you are in the job market, you are always welcome to discuss with me on any of this certification requirement. Regarding our organization, it's based in Bangalore, 4 years old organization, and I am heading the organization. We provide both consulting and training in the areas of supply chain, logistic, purchasing, and analytics related to these some domains. We also represent Demand Driven Institute as their affiliate in India, and our brand name is Expert SEM. We provide many short term job oriented certificate as well as diploma type of program, mainly in supply chain management, logistic, and procurement. Specifically, you will see our specialty of the program is related to supply chain analytics, which combines both the data analytics as well as supply chain management. Similarly, we have a program on sourcing called Certified Sourcing Analyst. Apart from this, we provide global certification training program. You are welcome to reach to any of our executives if you need any doubts or clarification on any of this program? Coming to the forecasting, forecasting is one of the widely used as well as misused subject in any organization. Of course, forecasting is used by all the people, irrespective of the type of industry it is being used. I don't think any industry can say that I do not use forecasting. But when coming to manufacturing related forecasting, we have to see how it is getting evolved over last 20, 30 years, and what are the levels, advanced level we are there currently. You can see in this diagram. When you take starting from no forecasting, it was purely a reactive mechanism, okay, where the error was the highest. And you can see as we progress forward, the error level goes down, as well as the accuracy level increases. But the method keep changing over so many years. Possibly you can take all this in 10 years term. In fact, forecast was used as a prediction in earlier time. Maybe if you take 1 century ago, it was used more like a prediction than a forecasting. Of course, we saw the difference between prediction and forecasting in one of our earlier webinars. The first level could be something like a naive forecasting. Possibly we used to use previous period actuals for the next period. Of course, the error rate will be high. Then came the statistical forecasting. This was there for last 50, 60 years. Various methods were there, and the accuracy slowly started improving, and possibly MS Excel or any other spreadsheet could be used in such situation. But that was not sufficient if your organization is complex and involving multiple products and multiple sites type of organization. But I know still many organization are getting stuck with this level of forecasting, where you can see the error level is still at 50%. But when you have to go to the next level, definitely you need some type of a advanced technique away from the Excel. So next step could be demand planning, where it includes some type of a hierarchy, and uh, other effects are included here. And you can see that the error is gradually getting decreased. Next comes the demand modeling, and machine learning is the absolute way. But you have to be careful. One side is you have to be a domain specialist. For example, if you are in a supply chain, you should not become ultimately a data analyst or data scientist. That's not the purpose. But you should use your knowledge to combine what is available in data science, and combine that knowledge with your domain knowledge to use the application. Because there are a lot of commercially available products which may push you to move to this end. But you may see that the error difference is not so much when you move to either machine learning or much advanced methods. So you have to be careful and moderate what method you are going to use. And possibly by going to this advanced level, you are going to come out of the spreadsheet usage. And this is where you need some knowledge about analytical tools. Let us move forward. I have given an overview in that slide, but we are going to again start from the basic. What is demand forecasting? It is something which we are going to project to the future based on what is known to us from the previous history. Okay, but there could be different levels depending upon the purpose for which this forecasting is used. Are you going to use it for strategic level or tactical or operational level? So it may go into few days or a few months, or even it could be few years depending upon the purpose. So even before you start forecasting, you should be clear about the purpose for which it could be used, and you should be aware of the external internal factor which could influence the demand pattern. You can see some type of a trend in the data, especially when you are trying to use the past data. You should see minimum these four aspects. One is a trend, either upward or downward, whether it's a linear or non-linear. Is there any cyclicality is there in the data? Any seasonality is there? And random variation you can see in the picture. All these are absolutely present in most of the data, previous data, especially if you are comparing last 3 or 4 years data. All this is a possibility. You need to account for these type of data pattern in the data, and you should also be aware about some basic principles about forecasting. Any participant, are you aware about any of the basic principle of forecasting? Can you type in the comments to have engagement? We have no other communication mode except you can type in the comments. Can you Do you know about what are the basic principles of forecasting? Can you type in the comment, any of the participants? Which serves as a foundation for any forecasting process, whether you are going to use advanced forecasting or basic method. There are some foundation which concept which you need to understand. Any of the participant, can you please type what do you know about the basic principles of forecasting? What do you know? You can type. Even you can be wrong. Regression, Austin is saying regression. Rohit talks about moving average. I am talking not about the methods of forecasting. I am talking about basic principles of forecasting. If you understand this principle, then the methods becomes easy. Rahul says better planning. No, that's different. We are talking about some principles which serves as a foundation for a person who is trying to do the forecasting. Ishwar, welcome to the program. You're talking about four principles. Can you please elaborate? Vijay Chandra is talking about weighted average, structured, quantitative, casual, and simple. They are once again becomes methods of forecasting. Here I will give a hint. I will go to the first principle. Forecasts are usually incorrect. Then what other things can follow? I am not talking about the method in which you can do the forecasting. Austin is talking about availability of historical data. It may not be possible in the all the time to have the historical data. You have many other challenges in forecasting. It could be even you're trying to do some forecasting for new products, so where there is no history available. So what does it mean? Forecasts are usually incorrect, but still we are trying to do some big exercise with forecast. What are the other two principles? Okay, we will continue. I was expecting answer from the participants. One is basic foundation. If you understand that these are the basic rules, then it becomes easier to use any of the methods. So forecast is usually wrong, but still you need it, as you have seen in the previous slide. Even with all high-tech forecasting methods using sophisticated software, your accuracy level can be not more than 95%. So you should keep in mind and also keep your stakeholders informed about the level in which you are able to forecast. If you are using normal statistical method, then you are somewhere at 50% accuracy level. Maybe the error calculation you may get a higher accuracy level, but actually if you compare with your previous forecast versus actual, it will be much lower. Okay, the second principle is forecast always tend to be more accurate for the families or a group of products rather than individual item. So normally it is not advisable to forecast at SKU level. The third principle is, as your forecast is nearer to your time period, it is always good and have a better accuracy. But when you move forward farther into future, the accuracy level dramatically comes down. These are the basic principle irrespective of whatever latest methods we have. If you have this basic idea in mind, you are definitely going to do a better way in forecasting. So your every forecast should include an estimate of error. It is doesn't matter if you are at 50% accuracy, 70% or 90%. You should inform the user that this is at level. If you are a supply chain executive, if you know that you are going to use a forecast which is having a 20% error, then the material planning itself has to be done in a different way. Okay. Still, why do we use, having known there are so much problem, why we are using it? But there is no alternative. Okay, otherwise we have to go back to the naive methods, use like our ancestors were using it, or use some prediction method. But still, we need them. Either for a long term, we need projections. Okay, if I am going to have a business plan, then I need to have some projection for the next 3 years, 4 years, how the business will be, how my market share will be, how the profits are going to be. Okay, so the key point in forecasting is how wrong is the forecast likely to be. This point you have to be clear, and nobody can come and challenge that I am going to do 100% error free forecast. And how your plan will accommodate for the expected error is important, especially for the supply chain professionals are concerned. So with this, we will start with the basic technique. With the available shortage of time, I am going to cover at a macro level. Okay, so one basic thing is a qualitative judgment, which is also required even in the current environment to moderate whatever machines are doing. There is always a expert judgment input is always provided, which is away from historical data. This is basically a judgment, intuition, or informed options. And when it comes to quantitative, of course you have to see whether it is external data or intrinsic data. Accordingly, you have to factor in those data. Any popular method of qualitative forecasting, anyone is aware? There is one particular method called dash, which is being used for qualitative forecasting. Anyone is aware? Can you type in the comments? What is the method which is popular and being widely used in qualitative forecasting? Can anyone type the method? Preeti says prediction of a future. I am talking about what is the most popular method of doing qualitative forecasting. Can anyone type in the comments? Regression is a quantitative method. It is not a qualitative method. Awesome. one popular widely used qualitative mechanism. You see, irrespective of whatever automation you are going to do in forecasting, you need some type of intervention from the experts to moderate the forecasting. Okay, what is the popular method which is used in qualitative forecasting? Name of the method. Name of the method. There is a popular model for qualitative forecasting method. It's not logistic regression, nor market study, nor summative approaches. Okay, I will come to that. It is called a Delphi method of forecasting. Maybe you, after the program, you can Google up. It's involving some methodological, procedural method in which you are going to get the expert advice in forming your opinion. And you can see, coming to the quantitative, there are both the extrinsic and intrinsic. And you can see intrinsic is only one part of the entire forecasting process, by which you use the historical data to create the forecast. And of course, the most popular one, of course, even today most of the industry use simple and weighted moving average. Take the average of last 3 months or 4 months and then use it for the future month or months. Okay, otherwise you can use a weighted average, like taking last month into 3 and the previous month into 2, and the second previous month into 1 divided by 6. Or you can use a multiple weightage. Only thing, we are giving a more weightage to the actual which has happened in the latest month. Okay, though these are historical, in fact these methods are being used even before statistical methods were born, something along with the naive method. But the same method is being used even today in most of the industry. 60 to 70% of the industry, when they use Excel sheet, mostly this is possible. And the forecast always done by this method is going to do not consider any trends or seasonality, or for that matter cyclicality. All this will not be considered. Of course, there are other simple methods which you can use it in Excel sheet. For example, exponential methods are there, where you are going to take a smoothing factor, for example alpha, and give a weightage anywhere between uh, can uh, can anyone answer what should be the value of alpha in exponential method? Alpha is a smoothing constant, and being widely used as a basic forecasting method. What can be the value of alpha in an exponential smoothing method? Can anyone type the value of alpha which is normally used in the exponential smoothing method? Yes, please. I am waiting for your response. Alpha is one of the smoothing constant which is being used in exponential smoothing method. I hope all these are basic methods. Most of you might be using these methods in your forecasting. What will be the value of alpha, which is used as a smoothing constant? Sunil Salim says -1. No, sorry. Rahul says till point 0.5. Starting point from what to what? Point 0.1 to point 0.3. Excellent, Ishwar. So this value of alpha can be anywhere between 0.05 to point 0.5, and we have to get a optimized value. Of course, if you are using Excel, that's where a solver tool may be important for you to get a optimized value. The next one complex method is called Winter and Volts method. Of course, this method is going to use three patterns like level, trend, and seasonality. And they use triple smoothing constant, alpha, beta, gamma. So, do you know anyone what will be the values of alpha, beta, gamma which will be used in winter volts method? Any idea? What could be the value? Will it be same as point 0.1 to point 0.5, or are we going to use something different in winter volts method? I hope some of you may be using winter and volts method. Maybe it is possible to use in Excel sheet to get forecast, because all these are basic methods. Okay, and you may also see that this method is used to do a forecast for only one period ahead. You cannot do it for multiple period ahead, because it will become flat. Okay. Pre-thesis surveys and questionnaires. Sorry, I was asking about the values of alpha, beta, gamma, which can be used in winter and volts method. Okay, once again, the value can be anywhere between 0 to 1, but specifically between 0.05 to point 0.5. And most recent statistical method is ARIMA method, which is known as auto regression integrated moving average. It combines all the methods and gives a better result. But once again, Excel may not be able to directly handle ARIMA because of complication in the calculation, but some add-on tools are available which you can add on to your Excel and start using them to ARIMA. Okay, possibly this ARIMA method we can use if you are aware about any of the analytical tool like R or Python. You will be able to use it better. But all these are basic methods. Coming to the, we will see about machine learning. They are going to be much advanced. For that, you need some of the knowledge in the analytical tool, and also study machine learning with some expert. Otherwise, knowing such methods is a bit difficult. Before going to machine learning, now you have to measure the forecast. What are the methods available to measure the forecast? Can anyone type it? What measure are available to measure the error of a forecast? How do you say the accuracy is 90% or 95%? What are the methods involved to measure the accuracy of forecast? Can anyone type in the comments? Because whatever you try to do the forecast, going forward you have to come back and check what forecast you have done and what has actually happened. That's where you are going to validate your forecast. What are the methods in which you can measure the error? Can anyone type in the comments what are the basic methods available? MSME, yes, mean square. MAD, mean absolute deviation. Fine. Difference between actual and estimated value. That's the basic method. So you can take a absolute value of error, or either you can use mean absolute error or mean absolute squared error, or There is one more thing called tracking signal, but we will come to that. So basic rule is assume the forecast is less, but how incorrect we have to measure, because this error percentage is always required for our planning purpose, especially for the inventory planning guys. This error should be inbuilt in your supply planning, otherwise there could be a problem. Now we will see what are the methods of forecasting error. Before that, we will see what is forecast bias. What is bias in forecast? Can anyone type? When do you call forecast is having a bias? You have to type when you can call a forecast is having a bias. What is the reason for bias in forecasting? So anyone who knows about bias, and how do we measure it, and what causes the bias? Is it really important in forecasting? You can type in. I am watching the LinkedIn response. You can type in the LinkedIn response. What is bias? Will it influence our bikers? When there is a difference between actual and predicted number, normally you will experience this. That's what is the normal error. But the bias is slightly different from error. Consistent difference between actual and estimated value. Yes, perfect. This answer is better. Bias is always general sense. It's a systematic error in which actual demand is consistently above or below a forecasted method. When exists, evaluate the forecast to improve accuracy and reduce bias. This normally happens, scripts in when a human intervention, or there maybe it is a person who is doing forecasting, or their bosses, or even it could be an expert who may be guiding, depending upon their own interest. Why? Possibly many time it could be their own survival. If they want to survive for more time, they may say the sales has to be more, it is going to increase, it is going to go five times, six times, all that. But it's all a biased opinion. But for you to measure, you should know that whether there is a consistent error one side, either above or below always. Okay, you can see this type of a difference in all of the forecasting, which is human induced. And of course, when we talk about human induced, there should be a intervention, but not in terms of bias. We also saw in one of our earlier session, when we use prediction, then bias can come, because prediction is based on no data may be required, so you're just predicting based on your own estimate. Okay. Coming to mean absolute deviation is nothing but sum of absolute deviation divided by number of deviation. Okay. Coming to tracking signal, anyone is aware about the tracking signal? This is one of the important metric for measuring forecast error. Do anyone know what is the tracking signal? Can you type it? What is traffic tracking signal? Tracking signal is widely used by the organization to keep a tab on what is happening on the forecast. Normally, we are going to have a boundary for using the forecast signal. Anyone is aware what is the how do you check tracking signal? This has nothing to do with logistic. Once again, we are still in the forecasting domain. Anyone is aware what is tracking signal? How do we calculate it? Biasness over mad. Normally, bias. Okay, we cannot term this as a bias. It could be absolute error, summation of error divided by mad. Okay. Let us see the formula. Sum of the forecast error. If you want to call that as a bias, you can call it, but I will not call it unless you know it is consistently on one side. So the formula for tracking signal is sum of forecast error divided by MAD. And anyone has an idea how much should be the standard for any organization? Because this is a boundary organization can set to the demand forecasting team. It has to fall within this figure, otherwise you have to change the forecasting method or change the parameters, whatever it may be. Any idea what could be the industry standard for tracking signal? Because generally MAD and MOPE, including there is one more method called MOPE, they are indirect, but directly we can use this tracking signal to check our error. Any idea what should be the limit or standard for the organization using tracking signal? When our forecasting system is above this boundary, we may have to discard the current method and going for a better method. Rahul Kumar says 3.75. Anyone else have an idea how much could be the limit, benchmarking limit for tracking signal? 3.7. Okay, good. You are very close. Normally, generally, industry use roughly 4, but you can always tighten up. If you feel forecasting is very important to your business, you can make either 3.5 or 3 is also okay. But the problem is if you are using conventional methods, by using Excel, you will never get to this range. Possibly, you will go to a tracking signal of 10 or 20, and which is not desirable. Okay. So coming to our program, we have basically multiple program, especially focusing towards this. Of course, the machine learning is one of the important way in which you can do the forecasting by using machine learning. And there we are going to use advanced tool. Possibly you may face a lot of challenges. For example, you need to do forecast for new products where there is no sales history available, or you need to do say forecasting for spares. In the spares market is typically different from our regular forecasting, and there are situations where you have a limited data. We have come across a client of e-commerce who has given us only 1 week data of demand, and they wanted it to project for the future. Those time you cannot use any of the traditional ways of using forecast. That's where the machine learning type of a forecasting will always help you. Maybe you can watch out my future session if you want to discuss exclusively on machine learning type of program. And as far as our supply chain analytics program, we focus on not only forecasting, also inventory management, as well as logistic management, applying the data analytics tool to improve the performance. Generally, we have 8 modules where we are going to train the people on basic statistics and advanced Excel, SQL, Python. Also, more importantly, we need to understand how they are important to supply chain management, and we use lot of live projects in our program to train the candidates. And also we have a power bi included in our latest program. Coming to sourcing, if you are purely in purchasing or sourcing, there also analytics can be applied. Not necessarily only in terms of forecasting, you need many ways, and you need to analyze things, especially if you are in a large organization. The number of transaction happening every day or every week will be enormous. So by using Excel alone may not be sufficient. So we train candidates who want to specialize in procurement domain, and all this program or weekend program, and more specifically they are live, online and interactive program. And you can always visit our site if you need to know. If you are a fresher and a youngster looking for internship, scholarship, and some type of a placement assistance, we can do that after you enroll to our program. You can visit our site if you need feedback about our other participants. Now I am opening for any questions on this webinar, or any clarification on our programs, or even global certification. You can type your requirements in the comments, or even you can approach any of our executives who have given the numbers. You can see, scroll up and down, you will see the executives number, or which is also available on the screen. You can either speak to me or our executives, either on our program, or you need any advice, I can do that. Any doubts, any clarification on what we did today? Did you like the program today? Of course, with this half an hour, I wanted to give a brief overview of forecasting. I hope I have done that. Possibly in the next session or the coming session, we will talk specifically with respect to forecasting using machine learning methods. Austin is asking, can we have a session on how to set sales target using data analytics? A good question. Are you a sales guy? We can use a forecast to set a target to sales, but if your previous data is poor in terms of sales, was not performing good the last 2 years specifically, then you're operating under a very low base. So possibly you can use a forecast plus combined with a manual intervention. Okay, sales planning, very good. You can, of course, use the forecasting for demand management, but you have to also align with your business planning. If a demand forecasting says 50 crores and your business plan says 100 crores, then marketing has to see how they can improve the sales. Okay, they can always take the input, but they have to explore other means of increasing the sales. Anyone else? Any questions, doubts, clarification? Do you like the program? So, if you need in the coming session any further brief session, also you are welcome to type in the comments. I will be happy to assist you. But if you need any detailed program, I am also available for consultation or training over a long time. That is also possible. You can reach out by using the numbers given there. You can always type the comment. If you like the program, you can also leave the comments. And thanks for participating. We will see you in the next program. Bye.